everybody. I am Branden Sewell, the owner of Seal Pro Painting in Central Florida and the host of the Off the Ladder podcast. We exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off of the ladder. I'm excited about today's guest. I have Jamie Coones here. He is the owner of Poo Squad. They are a dog waste removal service. They've been in business for 6.5 years. They have 16 locations nationally, and they have about 40 employees. Here's a quick note about Jamie. He is from Manhattan, Kansas, correct?
Yep, that's it.
Yep. Okay. Where he lives with his wife, son, and two dogs, Sharon and Steve. I love that they have human names. I am a
Thanks.
big time bourbon collector, drinker, and he loves to just about anything outdoors. The thing that he loves the most about building Poo Squad is the impact that he gets to make on other lives. Giving someone the ability to run their own business and coaching them to success is life changing. Welcome to the show, Jamie. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Excited to come share the story of Poo Squad.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Just as we were talking before the show, I don't really know a ton about, this part of the home services industry. I've had the opportunity to speak to a couple people who have dog waste removal businesses. But I don't really know too much about it. It seems like, from my own perspective, that it's kind of like a newer business that's in the home service industry.
Yeah, I think as far as being mainstream, or more people are finally finding out about it, right? But there's people that have been around doing this for like 20 plus years.
Oh wow.
Probably one of the largest pet waste removal companies that exists is over on Long Island. One of my buddies owns it
Okay.
and runs it. It's called Scooby Doo. His name is Jim Caniglione, but he's been doing it on Long Island for like 22 years now, and he covers
Wow.
all the way from the Queens up to the Hamptons. I think he's got
Yeah.
26 trucks.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. So, let's jump into your story. How did you get into this industry, and how'd you get started, and what was your progression to like where you are now?
Yeah, man. So I was just doing well. First off, let me apologize for my voice. I know I always sound weird to people. Um, I had COVID and was on the ventilator for a few months,
Oh
almost died in
wow.
the hospital. So my voice is still a little bit weak. Sounds like I maybe smoke a couple packs a day or something. But anyways, if I have weird pauses, it's because I'm breathing or whatever. But yeah. So
Sure,
anyways,
no
I
worries.
used to be a sales guy for an educational technology startup. And Monday through Friday, I was on a plane. I was flying somewhere across the country, and it was probably in 2007 or so. I was reading an article in Entrepreneur Magazine. It's about this guy down in Oklahoma was making 8 million bucks a year picking up dog poop. So that just fascinated me, right? And so anytime I would hear somebody, or anytime I was having a bad day or whatever, I would always talk about it. Man, screw this. I'm gonna go pick up dog poop. Just making a joke, right?
Yeah.
And then, one day it just happened when it was kind of the perfect time in life to make a life move. I was living in Wichita at the time, and my wife and I both went to school at K-State, which is in Manhattan, Kansas. And I said, "Why don't you sell your house?" I was like, "I think I'm going to put mine on the market. Let's move back to Manhattan." So anyway, we decided to move back here, and when we got here, she's like, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I was like, "I don't really know." I was like, I'm thinking about starting that dog poop thing. And she was like, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, imagine telling your wife you're going to quit, a 6-figure job and go pick up dog poop. She looks at you like you're
Right.
nuts, right?
Yeah.
um, so anyway, I was like, "No, seriously, think about it. What if we build this really cool brand, something that it's just fun, people like it, You know,
Mhm.
I was like, it's going to be a new identity for me. I'm going to have to go from this, sports coat wearing, flying around the country guy to just being casual. And I'm the dog poop guy. And
Yeah.
so I remember when I first started, my very first day, it was a Friday, and I was standing there at the foot of our bed getting ready to go to work for the first day. And I was just smiling, and my wife looked at me and she's like, "What are you smiling at?" I said, "Babe, the only thing I have to do today is go pick up dog poop." I was like, "That's there's not a whole lot of stress in that." So,
Yeah.
anyways, it was just exciting for me, and I was like, if we own this, I really think that we can kind of take it to a different level. And
Right.
so, about 1 year in, we were at 60 customers. I had hired one employee so I could, you know, get off the ladder. I wanted to start working on the business, building the brand more than I did want to, more than I wanted to get new customers at our location here.
Mhm.
Um, I was on a sales group online on Facebook, and I was talking about what I was doing, and I had another guy that had reached out to me. He was just fascinated by the dog poop business. So I started
Mhm.
telling him a little bit about Poo Squad, what we were doing. And he had asked me, he's like, "Well, do you think you could help me start one in Philadelphia?" And I said, "Yeah, man. Yeah, let's go. What do you got?" So like the next day, he sent me a bunch of ideas he had for names, kind of came up with a logo.
Mhm.
And he just asked, he's like, "So what do you think?" And I was like, "Man," I was like, "those are all pretty bad." uh, like, I don't know if I would really want to represent any of those. And he started laughing. He said, "Yeah, I know, man." And he's like, "Well, why can't I just be a Poo Squad?" And so that was kind of the light bulb moment, right?
Mm.
Um, it was like, okay, well, maybe we can. And so I went to one of my mentors and I was like, "Hey, how do I do this? I have no clue what I'm doing here, right?"
Sure.
And he's like, "Honestly, Jamie," he's like, "put a contract together and come up with an amount of money. And if you can get somebody to sign a check and sign a contract, you might be onto something here." And
Nice.
so I just did I was like, "All right, well, let's just make it a $500 licensing fee and do a 2 year contract with these guys just to see if I can, let's prove the model."
Mhm.
So they came on, and before we knew it, Poo Squad Philadelphia was happening, and they were absolutely killing it. And so more and more people started to kind of hear about it. The more Poo Squad people are out there, the more attention we get. And
Right.
so then I had other people, even friends, that started paying attention to what I was doing, and they're like, "Man, this seems like a really good business." And so,
Mhm.
before we knew it, we were at 8 locations. I mean, that all happened within 2 years of me starting. Like, I was still learning and didn't know what I was doing. And so I was like, "All right, well, let's pause here." So we stopped at 8, and it's like, it's time to figure out exactly what all these locations need. What do I need to do to support them? What kind of resources does Poo Squad need to bring to the table to be of value and to really help these guys? So, you know, we, I took about a year and a half off from bringing on any other new locations, and we're really starting to figure that out. So, now that's something that we've really got dialed in. We've we have an online repository. Basically, a new location comes on board. Um, all of their graphics, everything that they could possibly need to start their business. They've We call it the vault. So they go to the vault and they open up their folder for their location. They've got every version of all the logos they would need. They've got yard signs, door hangers, banner stands, business cards, you name it. We've already got it pre-designed with their all of their information in there, so they can go to work from day one. And that was kind of how we, built the franchise model.
Nice. Now, that's amazing information. I've got a couple follow-up questions for you.
Sure.
So, for a business like this, what's the barrier to entry? Like, is there any, licensing requirements, or is it, pretty much just, having your, business entity created and then go into business?
So that's pretty much it in Kansas. Now, what we're learning is around the country there are certain different kind of business licenses you have to get in different cities. Um,
Right, right.
but for here in Kansas, the only thing we had to do was create our entity. We got our LLC and insurance, and basically we were ready to go.
Nice. Now, um, now as far as offering this type of service, um, is there? And I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, but it was just a question I had. Um, I would imagine that like the room for any type of error or customer complaint is going to be pretty minimal because you're just literally going and picking up the poop. And like
Yeah,
how much could go wrong, right? Like do you have any issues with customers or is it pretty minimal?
very rarely. So what ends up happening is we'll have somebody who's a new customer, they'll sign up and man, they're eagle eyes, right? They'll go out, they've checked the yard, they'll spend more time looking than we did scooping. And
Yeah.
so if you miss one or two things, man, they're on you. They'll call you right back. Now, what we found is over time, after somebody's had our service for 2 or 3 months, they're just completely chill, and
Yeah.
we never get callbacks for anything.
Yeah.
Um, and then occasionally we get hired for one-time pickups, so we'll go out and again, man, they'll go out and if they find one or two things, and I say that, but in the 6.5 years we've been doing here in Manhattan, it's less than probably 10 calls that we've got
Okay.
complaints.
Yeah, I would
So
imagine. But it's funny because like ever since I heard about this industry, every time I am in my backyard cleaning up my dog's poop, I'm thinking like, man, this would be so easy to like just start a business like this. But yesterday, I've got a 3-year-old son, so usually what I'll do is if he's like, "Hey daddy, I want to go outside and play in the yard." While he gets started playing, I'll go through and, pick up poop just because I don't
yeah,
want, my 3-year-old to run through it or fall in it or anything like that. And I remember I thought I got everything, and then I put away, the poop scooper and everything. And I walked back over to his little swing set, playground, whatever, and I saw another pile. So I went over, got it, had to clean that one up, and then as soon as I put it away, I walked to the other side and I saw
yep.
another one. I was like, "Dang it!" Um, but it's funny because you can miss it. And I was just curious, do you have a strategy? Like usually, what I'll do is I literally just try to like take like make a line across from like one side of the yard to the other and just do like these passes, and browsing, trying to find it. But yeah, sometimes I do miss them every once in a while. But
Yeah, so we call it the grid pattern, right? That's what every scooper does, especially when you go out on first time cleanups. Um, you want to walk the yard twice in both directions. So you just walk that grid pattern back and forth, back, forth, back, forth, and then this way, this way, this way, this way. Because what
yeah,
ends
that
up
makes sense.
happening is you've got blades of grass that are covering
Yep.
it this way. So when you walk over, you don't see it. But if we're coming back this way, you can kind of see it, or if it's under a leaf or something like that. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely a strategy to it. Um, I will say once you have a client that you know really well, like you've been doing their yard for a couple months, dogs are kind of habits of creatures of habit, I mean, and so they kind of always go in the same spots.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
so you'll walk into a yard and you know exactly where it's going to be, and you just kind
Yep.
of do you don't necessarily do we don't anyways. We don't have time to do a full grid pattern on every yard.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, like I said, once you've been doing it long enough, you know how much there should be there, and
Yeah.
you know how much you've picked up. So, um, yeah, I think all of our team is pretty good about it, and we really don't hardly ever get calls.
Now, do you offer like different packages to your customers? Like, is it something where you have like X amount of times per week or X amount of times per month?
Yeah.
What does that kind of look like for the customers?
Yeah, so it's a subscription-based model. I mean, they pay the same fee every month, whether we come 3 times a week, twice a week, once a week, every other week. Some customers, we even allow monthly service. I mean, if you've got a customer with, 2 little Yorkies who have little Tootsie Roll sized poops, it's, you know, I mean, you're only gonna go find very minimal if you go weekly.
Right.
Um, and so now the story is a lot different if you've got a customer with 2 boxers, 2 very high metabolism animals that they
Yeah.
probably go 3 or 4 times a day. And
Hmm.
so, people wanna go monthly so they can save a little money, and they don't really care about what's in their yard. But the problem with that is when you've got a route of 50 houses to go scoop in a day,
Yeah.
if you've got one that's just on there once a month, you gotta stop for an hour and a half to do that yard, and it's just impossible to keep it going that way. So
Right.
we only allow high metabolism dogs weekly or more.
Yeah. It's almost like I could imagine there being like, if you have a dog that weighs this much, it's this many times, or if you have a dog that weighs, this much, it's X amount of times per month. But that's really interesting. Do you guys take it off site or do you guys just dispose of it on site for the customer?
Yeah, so we at Poo Squad, we take it with us every time, no matter what.
Okay.
In my mind, people are paying us to take that problem away from them.
Yeah,
They don't
that's
want to
good.
deal with it. They don't want to smell it. They don't want to ever see it. There are a lot of other waste removal companies that will use the customer's trash can,
Hmm.
which I do understand. A lot of, like we were talking about the business license, there's a lot of areas around the country where you can't put poop in a trash can. It's
Hmm.
the craziest thing. You can't throw it in a dumpster. So there's all kinds of different ordinances about dog waste.
Mm.
Um, and unfortunately, we're trying to figure out something to do with it, right? We have been forever.
Yeah.
The original idea was, well, hey, we're going to compost this. We didn't think that through very well because once we grew to a point where, we're doing 6 tons of dog poop every week, that's a big mess to figure out, right? That would
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
a couple of acres to be able to compost that
Hmm.
efficiently. And
Yeah.
so it's like, all right, well, we're not going to be able to do that. And then we figured out too, once you do compost it, there's really nothing you can do with it. You can't put it on you can only use it on non-edible plants. Dog poop, it's just pretty toxic. So
Okay, sure.
um, really, our only option is to take it to the landfill, which kind
Got
of
it.
stinks. But we have we're in talks with a company out in California who is figuring out burning methane out of it. So
Mm.
if we grow to a point where we've got a couple hundred locations nationwide and we can ship it all out to a facility and burn methane out of it one day, that would be pretty cool. But as of now, yep, that's all we can do is throw it away.
Right. Now, you said that you utilize Jobber for your business.
Yeah.
I would assume that some key features that you guys would use would be like Jobber payments, doing like the subscription and like automatic payments and invoicing,
Hmm.
um, and probably route optimization for like where you guys are going. Can you jump into just for your business how you guys are utilizing Jobber? What are some of the key features that are important for you in running your business?
Yeah, so Jobber has been, I mean, instrumental in the growth of our business. Just being able to automate a lot of different processes. Um, it allows us, especially with our new location, we train them on Jobber how to use it. So it allows our solopreneur to be a solopreneur. They don't have to have somebody who's doing their books, who's, I mean, you still have to do it with Jobber, but I mean, when all of your invoices are automated, all your payment collection, that's all automated. Um, we've kind of hacked some of the Jobber stuff as far as onboarding goes, building in our terms of service in the request form, and there's a lot of different things that you can do to make it fit your business.
Yeah.
Um, so it really allows our new startups to be owner operators, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so something that I've realized with a Jobber is, you'll have people who say, "Oh, like, I don't like Jobber. It doesn't do what I want it to do." And something that I found is that it's usually the user, not the software. It's like, there's so many things that I didn't realize Jobber did or was, could do for me, and it just took me taking the time to like really pull the value out of it. Not too long ago, I implemented a subscription based service into my business, and I was like, man, how in the world am I going to do this? And I actually I don't know if you're familiar with Janine Chambers. She's pretty
Uh,
active in like the Jobber entrepreneurship group on Facebook and things
okay.
like that. But she's like a Jobber coach basically. So like she'll help Jobber users really get the most out of what Jobber has to offer, and help utilize the features to fit their business, and educate business owners on what they can do to utilize it. And yeah, I think Jobber is an incredibly powerful tool for your business. It's been a game changer for us. um Now, you had mentioned when you were talking about that you're like empowering your solopreneurs. Are most of the routes that you guys ran by just one employee or one solopreneur, or is there a need for like multiple employees per location? What does the staffing look like for an operation like that?
Yeah, so most, I mean, obviously they start out solopreneurs, right? They're doing everything. They're doing sales,
Right.
marketing, onboarding, scooping, everything. Most of our locations, I would say within a year, have at least one employee. Um, we've got locations that have 6, 7, 8 employees. Um, and so yeah, you open up that jobber map, and you look at the routes for the day, and you just see all your color coded routes all over the map. Um,
Hmm.
and that is, I mean, obviously not all software is going to be perfect for every business. So, um, route optimization, it kind of works for what we do. But we constantly have to tweak it. I think there are some things that could be improved with that, which is another reason that I do love Jobber is they typically take feedback pretty well. So if you've
Oh
got
yeah.
something that's not working the way you want it to, or whatever, you can put in different feature requests. I mean, no, like for us, we're set up as a franchise, right? So I can I can open up Jobber and hit the menu, and I can see all of our locations at any time. What their routes are looking like, what their numbers look like. Um,
Nice.
so that's something pretty cool that they've done for us as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. Um, so let's jump into the franchising piece a little bit really quick. So, um, I used to be a part of a franchise, kind of, but it wasn't really structured very well. There wasn't really a formal contract in place. It was just like, somebody that I was in business with or actually worked for as an employee helped me start a location using their name, and I paid a royalty fee. which I didn't really get everything that you were just talking about. Like, um, well, to give some insight, when I worked for this company, when I came to work for them, I designed all of their graphics, did their website, redesigned their t-shirts, did all of their print marketing, all of their digital marketing, revamped all their social media, created their like customer facing manual, just everything. And so
Yeah.
then when I started my location, it was like, well, I had access to it because I did all of it.
Right.
And so I wasn't really paying for that in some aspect because I did it all myself. How are things structured for you? It sounds like you've kind of created this system yourself, or did you work with a franchising company to create your franchise? How did you go about doing that?
No, man, I've done it all by myself.
Nice.
Because like you said when you introduced me to this podcast, our mission here has really just been to help people, right? And
Yeah.
so we first started out, we were just licensing our brand. And once we figured
Hmm.
out, okay, well, we're onto something here. People love this, and we're really changing people's lives. I mean, um, I've got all kinds of cool stories about. Uh, Hold on, we'll get back to that. That's a bigger tangent than we probably want to get off to. Um, so that's when I decided, okay, well, we need to get our FTD agreement, which is a franchise agreement, in place,
Hmm.
and that's when we need to figure out our numbers. Earlier, you asked about barrier to entry. I don't know if I fully answered that question. So we only charge $5,000 for a new location,
Hmm.
for that royalty fee, or not for the royalty, but the franchise fee, and then we charge an 8.5% royalty, 6% royalty, 2.5% marketing fee. Um, and people look at me like I'm crazy. Like, why are these numbers so low? Well, that's where I circle back to that introduction piece where I'm really in this just to help people, man. I mean, obviously we're making money. The more locations we have, the more royalties being paid. Um,
Hmm.
my overall goal is to have a Super Bowl commercial one day. Just to see a Poo Squad Super Bowl commercial would blow my mind. So, anyways, I don't have super big financial goals, but obviously, if we can afford to do that, we're going to be doing okay. But if you look at a lot of other dog poop franchises, they've got anywhere from $50 to $100,000 franchise fees, charging 11, 12% royalties. And I'm not. I mean, I want our entrepreneurs to make a living for their families.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of what I was getting into as far as the cool stories that we have. Uh, every semester, uh, I live in Manhattan, which is a college town, Kansas State University. So the entrepreneur program invites me in to speak to their class, just because it's an interesting business. Hey, it started right here in Manhattan. Anybody can go do this, right? And so one of the kids that was in one of the classes I was speaking to, um, he came to me about a job, and so he worked with us for about a year and a half, and then came to me and he said, "Jamie, I don't." He's like, "I don't think I want to go to school anymore." And I was like, "Okay, well, what are you saying here? Like, are you quitting?" Or he's like, "Well," he's like, "I want to move to Wichita and start my own Poo Squad."
Nice.
And I said, "Okay, well, I'm not necessarily going to encourage anyone to drop out of school. So at least have
Hmm.
a conversation with your parents and whatever. And if you're serious about it, come back and we'll talk about it." So
Right.
now he's been in Wichita for 3 years now, and he's killing it down there.
That's
So
awesome.
that's just a cool story about somebody. Like, if that franchise fee would have been $80,000, he wouldn't have been able to do that, right? Or he might have been able to, but it's just we want to create opportunities for other people, um, and it's been life changing. We've got another guy he was an area director for a big grocery chain here, and he'd been doing that all through college, and he was making well over six figures into a couple $100,000 a year as an area director. The problem was
Hmm.
he was never home. He didn't
Right.
get to go home for holidays, any of that stuff. So he called me one day. He's like, "Man, I'm sick of it." He's like, "I want to come pick up poop with you." I was like, "All right."
Let's do it.
So yeah, we had a conversation, and within a week, he had quit his job. He called me one day. I was scooping a yard. I was filling in for one of our scoopers, and he called me and he said, "I did it." I said, "You did what?" He said, "I quit my job." It's like, "What? We just talked about this like 3 days ago." And
Right.
he's like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." So that's our first location, our second location in Kansas City. That's how that came about. And now he's doing very well. Yeah, doing $40,000-$50,000 a month just in Kansas City.
Nice. Well, that's amazing. So, let's, as we talked about, the purpose of this is to help guys and gals, get off the ladder, get out of the field. For you, let's jump into some of the practical advice that we could give to those small business owners to get out of the field. And I think some of those key areas, are, you got to know how to hire people. If you don't know how to hire employees, you're going to have a really hard time, getting off the ladder and, working on your business. Um, so if you could, can you go into some of the systems and the processes that you have in place for hiring people? How do you find people that are interested in leaving these jobs and picking up poop? I mean, I think sometimes we have this mindset that, oh, nobody's going to want to do blue collar work, and I don't think that's true. I think there's people out there that get sick of that, that grind, like you said, never being home, never seeing their kids, and they're tired of sitting behind a desk or traveling across the country all the time, and they want to be able to work with their hands and do meaningful work. How do you find those people, and what advice would you give to somebody who's never made their first hire but they know they want to get out of the field?
Yeah. So as far as finding those people, man, I don't want this to turn into a faith discussion, obviously, but I believe everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And honestly, these people have found me. I don't
Nice.
actively really go out. I have built a campaign to bring on new
Hmm.
locations, but I've only tested it just to see how it would work. And we'll get a ton of applications overnight if I start running a nationwide campaign. We're just not ready to onboard that. We can't onboard 20 new people every week. We don't have
Right.
that capacity yet. So a lot of these people have just been people that I've met just across the country throughout my career, and people that I went to school with. They see what I'm doing and they call me. They're like, "Hey, this looks pretty cool. I want in." So they come and they ask me. We take a look at numbers. We look at their demographics, and then we get going. And as far as getting out of the field, everybody's different. I think one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make is they want their thumb on everything, right? They want to
Yeah.
control every process in their entire business. Uh, and so my advice for getting out of the field is, my goodness, man, you have to figure out quickly what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you got to hire those people. Or I, like, I'm terrible with numbers. I'm terrible with, well, not numbers. I know our numbers, but like I'm terrible with any kind of paperwork, bookwork,
Yeah.
doing
Admin.
taxes, and any of the admin stuff. I'm
Hmm.
awful. I forget everything. I get 2 warnings every single year to to file or to renew our LLC with the state. I always
Yeah.
forget it. Um, so, anyways, you've got to put those people in place that are good at those things.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest mistake that most entrepreneurs make is they don't. They're like, "Well, I don't have the money to hire, or I can't do this. I don't." and they want to take control over every little thing. And at some
Mm-hmm.
point, that's just not sustainable. As you're growing your
Right.
business, you got to let go of those things and trust that you're hiring somebody that's going to do it well for you.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that it's kind of wild with our processes at Poo Squad. People are always like, "Really, you guys are doing that?" I mean, we've got all kinds of cool little systems and things we've put together. So, one thing I would encourage you to check out is something that new that we're doing for hiring. If you go to careers.poosquad.com, go to that website and you can see our all of our current job listings. I think we've only got one right now, but that's how we hire people. Basically, it's a video interview process that anybody
Mm-hmm.
can do 24/7. They click on the job opening. It's got a video of from us explaining what the job is, and then we've got 4 questions that they go through and they answer. I mean, right there on their phone. Uh, they just record a video. It's a instant video interview, right? So you
Nice.
know as well as I do when it comes to hiring people, that interview day is the most awful day ever. You're sitting there all
Yeah.
day, and maybe a quarter of the people show up who
Yeah.
have,
Come on.
yeah,
I
and
just did
so
that last week, so it's
it's
fresh.
awful. Yeah, and so then you've got half of the people that do show up. The second they walk through the door, you're like, nope, they don't fit our culture. They're never
Yeah.
gonna like what we do here.
Right. Right.
You can just tell by their demeanor. And so this video interview process is pretty cool because it
Yeah. That's
allows us,
smart.
yeah, it allows us to eliminate over half the people immediately. So we're not wasting a bunch of time hiring,
Now,
which is
how are
important.
you doing that? How are you doing? Like, what software, or if somebody was interested in implementing something like that, how are you doing those videos? What's that like interface like for that person?
Yeah. So basically, it's another company. It's a third party software called HireVire,
Can
and
you say that again?
HireVire.
Hire Vire.
Yep.
Okay.
Uh, um, and it allows it. Well, when you buy the highest level of that, it
Mm-hmm.
allows you to white label it and make it your own. So like
Okay.
it's got our if you go to careers.poosquad.com, you'll see, I mean, it all looks like it's native to Poo Squad.
Nice.
It looks like it's something we've built. So um, I think it's very important when you're building a brand that everything that you put out there, every link you have, everything, it's all branded back to you.
Yeah, that's smart.
That's one of the biggest things that we do too. Uh, think about like Bitly, even a link shortener, right? A lot of people will
Mm-hmm.
post a bit.ly/whatever to use as a link shortener. Well, the problem is, especially with all of the scams and everything else, you don't know what you're clicking on when you're clicking on a Bitly link, and
Yeah.
it could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what we found, it was probably about 7, 8 months ago. I built out our own link shortener. So we've got poosquad.co/ whatever alias after that we want that can
Mm-hmm.
go to any link. Um, but what's cool about it is it's branded and it's a link shortener. And what the other cool thing about it is that we can put a pixel on every single one of those links. So like we've got QR codes on our truck. Each one of those has a pixel attached to it that fires or a Google tag or whatever. And so I can go back and I can do a Facebook or Google campaign to only go out to people that have scanned our QR codes, right? Hey, if caught you checking us out in traffic, you know, whatever, kind of personalize it to them. So, tracking data, especially with branded links, that's huge.
Yeah. And I would just say for like the person who is, out there working in the field, they're on the ladder and they're looking to bring on their first hire. We've talked about this with other business owners is when you're just getting started, I think one of the most important things you can do is just have a way to screen your new hires. Build out some pretty simple systems and processes, and have some clear like values, have a clear, expectation of who you're looking for, and
Yep.
screen those people. And that's a huge part of hiring, is just, you know, working through finding the people that fit your culture. Um, so I think that, just on like a practical level, for, just some quick advice for those who are looking to make that first hire, is have a system and process in place. Don't just wing it. Don't just put a job listing out there, and just, because like you said, it it can be disastrous. um, but have a system and process in place to weed those people out. Um, you were talking about your brand, and how you've built that. Um, let's go into some marketing. Obviously, part of growing a business is the marketing. How are you guys getting your customers, and how are you using your brand to really leverage, your influence in that industry, and to win your clients?
Yeah, man. So my biggest vision for Poo Squad when we started is I wanted it to be something that was cool. That was it. I didn't know how I was going to achieve that or whatever. Um, but I just knew that I wanted, if it was going to be a very, let's just say, unsexy business picking up dog poop, it's like, all right, well, let's just make this a really cool brand. And so, we were pretty fortunate to, I don't know if you've really checked out our logo, but people love it. It's
Yeah,
just a dog squatting with toilet paper.
a little
Um,
Frenchy.
yeah, it was actually a Boston. It
Oh,
was one
okay.
of our dogs originally
Okay.
was the mascot. Um, but it was a local K-State student here that designed that for us. And he actually, so this thing behind me here, this is
Yeah.
a sign that all of our locations get whenever they get their 100th
Nice.
customer.
That's awesome.
So it's just kind of a milestone award for them. But that's one of the, I mean, just building that culture just to have fun, do all of these cool things. Um, I mean, how many companies out there do you know that have a tie-dye $100 bill sign? It's just, it's something silly, right? Not that
Yeah.
it's necessarily the coolest thing in the world, but there's a story behind it, and people are proud to have those.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just been really important to me. Um, well, like we just went to, there actually is a Pooper Scooper conference. We just
Nice.
went to one in Myrtle Beach about 3 or 4 months ago, and I told all of our guys that went, I was like, guys, that really, we're just going here to have fun. I want
Right.
to show that you can still be a business owner and do all these and just go have fun. Go have more fun than anyone else. So that's one of our company mottos is have more
Hmm.
fun than anyone else. So we do a lot of big events. Um, like if you go to SoundCloud and you search Poo Squad, find the Poo Squad anthem. We've got our own rap song. We go I I walked into a have you ever heard of 1 Million Cups?
Mm-mm.
So it's basically it was a group, or it still is a group, that gets together and allows business owners to come in and talk about their business.
Hmm.
And so we did that. And I walked in the room with a big boombox on my shoulder, playing the Poo Squad rap songs, throwing out T-shirts to the crowd, and um, that's the culture I want to build. I just want everybody to have fun all the time, because the business
Yeah.
we're in is not that serious. And I mean, it is a serious business. It makes a lot of money, and our entrepreneurs do very well.
Right.
But I don't want them to get so wrapped up in that they forget we're really just, you can have fun and do this.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. That's good.
and that comes across in you're talking about your systems and hiring people and stuff like that too. Like I said, go check out our that page, and you'll see just kind of the fun spirit. Eh, just in our, or check out any of our marketing. Some of our our videos and things that we do. It's just fun.
Yeah. So are you guys utilizing, I would assume, like some of the main ways that your customers probably find you, you're probably doing like Google, um,
Yeah, sorry, I
things
went
like
way off
that,
there again.
Facebook. Huh?
So yeah, I went off on another tangent again. I'm bad about that.
No,
I
no,
never
that's all
answered
good.
that.
It really valuable, but yeah, so is that like one of the key ways that you guys do marketing, and like what are you kind of teaching those people who are starting those other locations? Is that where your main source of leads come from, is Google, or what are you guys utilizing?
We do. It depends on what market we're in. But yes, we definitely do a lot of Facebook, Google ads. We're very big into data tracking. Um,
Mhm.
every piece of any kind of advertising we do, even, if we run a Monday Night Football commercial, we put a special link in there or a QR code, and we're able to track results on every. I mean, we have analytics for everything. So even a
Mhm.
door hanger, it's got its own special QR code. So we know
Nice.
exactly where that business is coming from, right? Um, but no, man, I think one of our biggest things that we do is just boots on the ground. Your old school, let's go knock on doors. Hey, here's my door hanger. We've got yard signs that say no trespass pooping. Um, you know, if you don't want to pick up after your dog, these guys will.
Yeah.
Again, something just to make people smile. One thing we're getting ready to launch is called the Poo Squad Street Team. So
Mhm.
what's cool about that is whenever you sign up to be a Poo Squad franchise, um, you have to agree to at least go do two other openings. So, say if we open a new one tomorrow in St. Louis, Missouri, we're going to have 5 or 6 other people that own Poo Squad locations go there for 2 days, and our street team is just going to go hit it. And, we'll take electric scooters out and just go canvas neighborhoods. And you'll just see all these crazy guys in orange shirts coming around, and that's what our street team is. But it's really just to help launch that person, get them to 40 or 50 customers overnight. That's a
Yeah.
massive boost to their business. A lot of people in this business, I mean, I know companies that have been scooping dog poop for 2 years that only have 50 customers. They're just lost. They don't
Wow.
know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one of the, franchise is kind of a dirty word in our business. A lot of other scoopers, they don't like franchises. They
Mhm.
they think that it's just the mom and pop businesses that they think do a really good job. And part of the problem is some of the franchises in our space, they're the bottom feeders. They come in, advertise, a free month's worth of service or $7 a week or whatever. And
Mhm.
again, those are the people that they're not taking care of their people. Um,
Right, right.
they're not taking care of their franchisees. All they care about is numbers and just getting dollars coming into the account, right? But
Yeah.
that's not us. We focus on our other locations and making them successful. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
drives me every day is changing these people's lives.
Yeah, that's really
So,
good. And I think some like really good points that you brought out there is when you're trying to get off the ladder and you're trying to get out of the field and work on your business, you can't discount those just old school tactics of boots on the ground. Like when I first started my business, I printed up flyers and I literally just started knocking on doors. And
yep.
going door to door, putting yard signs out, going and networking, meeting with people. And, you can't just like sit at home and expect things to just start moving. You have to build some momentum. And so I think for those guys out there who are, and gals out there who are running home service businesses, my encouragement would be like if you hire on some guys and you're wanting to know, okay, how do I grow this? How do I get more business? Don't discount the just the effectiveness of just getting out, getting into your community, going door to door, going to events, going networking, and just start becoming that what are those things that you speak through
A megaphone.
Totally. Megaphone. Yeah, you got to be that megaphone in your community for your business and literally just start shouting everywhere, so that's just that's one of the parts of getting off the ladder is you have to realize it's not you're not getting off the ladder because it's going to be easier, right? It's just different.
Yep.
It's different work. You have to shift your mindset and you have to think, okay, now that I'm in this position, my role is got to be focusing on building my brand, marketing it and selling and growing the business, right? And scaling it. So, um do you let me ask you this. Do you think there are some people out there who might listen to this podcast about getting off the ladder and do you think there's just maybe some people who shouldn't do that? They should just focus on remaining the technician and the person who stays out there and just masters their trade, or what's your opinion on that?
Yes. I do think there are people who should not run a business. Um, not that they're not coachable, but there's a lot of people who don't understand. Like I was talking to a guy the other day. I was doing a consulting coaching call with him, and he's like, "Well, I'm off on Wednesdays." Um, you're what? You're what? You're off on Wednesdays?
Uh-huh.
Uh, I don't see as an entrepreneur, a real entrepreneur would never say that. Like when I was
Right.
starting my scooping business, if I didn't have yards to scoop in the day, like I was out knocking on doors. I was going to pet stores talking to them. I was going to doggy
Mhm.
daycares. I was going
Right.
to pet rescues. I was getting in front of anybody I could. And if you don't have the mindset to do whatever it takes to be successful, you should not be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of, or I suppose maybe you could, but go buy one of these courses online that tell you you're going to be a millionaire overnight if you just follow their steps. Maybe they've got something figured out that we don't. Um, but the only way that I know how to be successful is to put in the work. Um,
Yeah, it's hard work.
so there's no such thing to me in my mind as Wednesday off. If I don't have yards to scoop on Wednesday, that means I've got 30 people to go talk to. You
Right.
know, I've got to, I still have to fill my day up. And it's
Yeah.
not, and sometimes that is working on your business, putting some of your systems in place, doing your electronic stuff. But, and I tell our other locations this all the time, especially when they've got revenue goals or certain amount of money they need to make. I straight up ask them, I'm like, okay, well, what'd you do to make that money? Like, we know what the lifetime value of one of our customers is. I know that if I go add 4 customers tomorrow, that I'm getting basically a $4,000 a year raise.
Right.
Okay. So what did you do to go get those 4 customers? You know, we really have the opportunity to make as much money as we want as long as we're willing to go do the work. And so I think
Yeah.
that's where a lot of entrepreneurs fail. They they see the highlight reel of other entrepreneurs. Oh, well they get to go do all their kids events and they get to do what they don't see is you sitting in an office that you just moved into at 3 o'clock in the morning putting a chair together. So if somebody has a place to sit tomorrow, you know,
Yeah.
um, people don't ever see stuff. They don't understand exactly what it takes to be a successful business owner. So uh,
Yeah.
to answer your question, yes, there are absolutely people that should not that they can't be coached to do it. I just don't think a lot of people have the drive of what it really takes.
Yeah. And I mean it's different. Yes, you have more flexibility and you have more freedom, right? Cuz you're deciding, okay, what am I going to do today? But the reality is like you're going to determine by your actions what your business does, the results. So you have to make that decided effort that okay, today if I don't have, let's say, estimates today, what am I going to do today to push? the needle further and to grow my business. And it's so true. I mean, it's like I remember when I was setting up this office that I'm sitting in right now. um it's like I had to work during the day. I had all of our desks and like our conference room behind me, that we had to set up, and I've got a 3-year-old, and so like my wife and we come here like at night with our 3-year-old, set him up with like a computer to watch a movie on, and my wife and I are in here putting office furniture together and setting up the office until late at night. It's like those are the things that you have to do. And, it's not like I'm making extra money by doing that either. Right. But it's just like the necessities of like, you have to put the work in to grow your business and to make it what you want it to be. And nobody is going to be there to make you do it or push you to do it. And you just have to have that, you know, resolve inside of you that, hey, I'm going to grow this business. And if that's not your goal, then maybe you're better off just, you know, owning your job, as they would say, instead of owning a business, because both take completely different mindsets. Let's get into leadership, because I feel like with what you're doing, you really care about your people. You're making a difference. Let's talk about what does it take? The mindset here. We're talking about the mindset that you have to have as an entrepreneur. If you're going to lead something and scale it, what mindset do you have to have, and what drives you to grow something to the scale that you have?
Yeah, so my leadership style is kind of like, let's build the culture. I want everybody to understand, to know and understand that they are part of a team. We are Team Poo Squad. So
Hmm.
when you come on to Team Poo Squad, you're not alone. Um, that's the toughest part about starting a business, in my mind, when you do it by yourself. You have no one really to talk to. Sure, you can join a networking group, talk to other business owners, but nobody knows exactly what you're going through. And so that's one of the coolest things that has come about with Poo Squad is we are a team. We all build each other up every day. And I want every single one of our owners to lead by example. And they all become, we're all the rest of us who have already been through what they've been through are building them into the leaders they need to be to build their team. And man, that's been such a cool thing to see, and just to mentor these people, to really just own what you're doing. I was talking earlier about you have to absolutely own being the dog poop guy or girl, or
Hmm.
um, plumber, or whatever trade you have, whatever home service business you have. You have to own that. Nobody is going to think that's cool unless you tell them it is, right?
Right.
Like I said, nobody would ever think picking up dog poop is a cool job until you come to Team Poo Squad, right?
Right.
Um, and again, like I said, uh, I'm really not trying to promote anything, I swear, but check that out at careers.poosquad.com. Just see that video, read through that page, and it gives you a great idea of the culture we're trying to build here, right? It's fun, it's lighthearted, it's just goofy, but it's also, we take it serious.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a fun job. People think, well, you must have a heck of a time trying to hire people, right? We don't. People, like, we have people lined up to come work for Poo Squad.
That's
It's a
awesome.
cool job. I mean, it's a really, really easy job. Like you said,
Yeah.
when you're out picking up, you're like, man, this is really easy. Uh,
Right.
they spend 80% of their day in a truck, and they're just cruising around, listening to podcasts, music, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, None of our scoopers have set schedules. They can go whenever they want. They just open
Nice.
up Jobber, right? And they see, okay, well, I've got 12 houses to scoop today. Well, I can get that done in 2 hours. So I can go at whatever point in the day. And so what we
Nice.
found is our scoopers absolutely love their job. but that's part of the leadership, is building that culture of, this is really cool. This is a fun, cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
And like I said, nobody is going to talk about your business that way unless you do. So if you can build that culture through your leadership, other people, it follows you everywhere you go. Um,
Yeah.
I know I didn't
So
explain that well, but
no, that's really good. I think you know, one of the most important things that I've ever done as a business owner is create a clear mission and values for my business. And I think for anybody who's wanting to get off the ladder, get out of the field, and they want to lead a team, if you're not clear about who you are and what you're doing, then the people that you bring on are not going to be clear about what they're doing,
yep,
what they're joining, what they're going to become a part of. And I think something as simple as sitting down as a small business owner, clearly defining what is my mission as, whatever I'm, whether you're a painter, plumber, you know, dog waste removal, whatever, and define this is who we are and this is why we do what we do. And here is our values. And then when you bring people into your team, you're able to clearly define for them, hey, this is our mission as a company. If you don't like our mission, you're probably not going to fit in here. These are
yeah,
our values. If you don't like our values, you're probably not going to fit in with our culture and our team. So you might as well just, go somewhere else. And so I think that's a huge part of just getting to the place where you can really grow and scale is having that clearly defined and knowing who you are. And it sounds like you have really focused on doing that, and it's a big part of growing and scaling your business, which is it's really inspiring to hear you talk about it.
well, thank you. No, that's one thing I've strived to do is, I want to know every single Poo Squad employee across the nation. I want to know their names. I want to know, how their day was, and really mean it when I'm asking that question. Because I
Yeah,
want to know if they're not having a good day. I want to know why, and I want to know what can we do to fix that. Um,
right.
how can we make their lives better? And so I think if you're leading an organization, communication with your people that's probably one of the best leadership qualities I can possibly think of, is just to
Yeah.
constantly communicate, understand what all your people want and need.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, as we bring this interview to a close, there's something that I like to ask every person that comes onto the show is, what is the next big thing that you want to accomplish as an entrepreneur? And what are you doing to get there? Obviously, once we get started, we want to constantly be growing and striving for more. So, what is that for you?
You're gonna laugh. Our next big goal, and this is 100% legit, is gonna seem like I'm crazy, but
Hmm.
our next big milestone so let me back up a little bit. I would say 100 locations is our next big milestone. Um,
Nice.
and we'll do that by the end of next year. But the next big thing, like the really big goal that we're working on right now, and this is company wide, this is team wide. Everybody's got the same mission. We want the PooSquad.com bowl. We want a bowl game.
No, nice.
It's going to cost us about $500,000 to get our own bowl game, but we're going
Uh-huh.
to get there. Um, so for 2 or 3 years down the road, you see PooSquad.com bowl. You'd be like, hey, yeah, I remember that interview. um, yeah, we're going to do it no matter what. It's going to happen. Uh,
Sure.
and what we're going to do to get there is to work on our sub goals. Like I said, get to our 100 locations by the end of next year. Um, and to do that, we just have to keep doing what we're doing. You grow 2 or 3 locations at a time, mentor and coach those people, make sure that, they're full of the Poo Squad energy that we are and have the
Nice.
mission. And yeah, I mean, when your goals are, so our ultimate goal is to have a Super Bowl commercial. That's like pie in the sky someday,
Hmm.
it's whatever. But our next big milestone goal is the PooSquad.com Bowl.
Yeah. Well, those are awesome goals that you have, and it seems like you have that just passion and tenacity to go after those. So, for everybody that comes on here, I would love to eventually do like follow up episodes and have you on again, see where you're at. Maybe have
Yeah.
you on sometime next year and see where you are with those goals. For anyone who's listening to this podcast and maybe interested in reaching out or maybe even looking into the opportunities to start their own Poo Squad location, how would they get in touch with you? What is the best way to go about that?
Yeah, I don't know if I put my bio link in the stuff that you sent, but it's just Poo Squad, POOSQUAD .COONESBIO. And so
Okay.
it's, yeah, poosquad.co slash Coones bio. And if you go to that link, that's got all my contact information for um, whether it's you just want to schedule a call, if you want to schedule a call to start a new franchise, um, whatever that may be, or even if you just want to shoot me an email and say hi, or uh, I always love it when I do a podcast or anything and people reach out and say, "Hey, man, I really enjoyed this and I wanted to be able to reply to you because I get some really good feedback." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I really enjoyed you all out there listening." Um, there's so much that I still have to learn, and so I get a lot of feedback, or I don't get a lot of feedback. I enjoy getting the feedback that I get.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to reach out to me, tell me where I'm maybe doing something wrong, or expand on an idea that you heard here today. I would love that.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on growing a awesome business, and it's really interesting. I'm super intrigued by just the industry in general and the idea of the business that you guys are doing. It's super cool. So, anyway, for those of you who are watching online or listening to this, thank you so much for checking out the Off the Ladder podcast. If you could please subscribe, turn on the notifications, leave us a review, rate the show, and we will see you next time on the next episode of the Off the Ladder podcast. Take care.